Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of, not the month of, for Capricorn season actually, because we're changing the way we're doing the timings on these things. So I hope you're well. I'm using the 777 tarot for you today. It's a Bulgarian deck. It's absolutely astonishing. I bought it on Christmas Eve. It's very, very good. Anyway, things to tell you before we begin. If the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's via links in the description box below. The first one will take you to Selfie if you just want the extended for this video. But if you're interested in all of the other extended content that I make, which is not just for each of the signs every season, obviously, but also includes things like weekly energy readings, why don't you come over to Circle? My private community is called the Order of the Phoenix over on the Circle platform. And in addition to all of the extended content that I do, we also run classes over there if you join at the higher tier. So if you're interested in that, I'm running a 7-day free trial. If you like it, stay. If it's not for you, then no harm, no foul, and all that sort of thing. So let's get on with this for you, Cancer. Let's flip the camera around. The recent past that usually shows up here, for which I usually draw one card, has actually turned out to be a bit more of a retrospective of 2025. Like, what the fuck was the point of 2025? What was the deal? So we're going to do that here. And then similarly, we will draw 3 cards for each of these for the present position and for Capricorn season itself. So let's have 3 cards for Cancer, please. So we have the 2 of Wands reversed. We have the 3 of Swords on its side. And one more, please. And we have another sideways card, 7 of Wands. What about current energy, please, for Cancer? Ooh. So we have the Knight of Pentacles, the 4 of Cups. That's a Cancer card right there. And the Queen of Swords. And what about Capricorn season for Cancer, please? It landed on the floor. Let me go get this. Right, we have the Page of Wands in the upright, which is very nice. We also have the Emperor and the Ace of Pentacles. Right, I like this. Even though it started off a little rocky for you, we've got the Hierophant at the bottom of the deck there. And what do I mean by that? Right, well, let me dig out my clarifying deck and I'll let you know. Here it is, buried under a load of things. Right, by starting off rocky, what I mean is this 2 of Wands, 3 of Swords on its side, 7 of Wands on its side feels... it has a kind of inherent instability about it. But it's not the instability that comes from everything's falling down all the time. It's the instability of, I don't really feel like I have any options, right? The 2 of Wands reversed is often a card of not having a choice in a matter, right? We're being kind of either swept along by events or continuously kind of railroaded into a corner or somewhere that we didn't want to be. And the interesting thing is, it's not really knowing how we got there. That's the thing that seems to be really ringing from here. Now, with that 3 of Swords and that 7 of Wands, I feel like the truth of 2025 is something that's going to take quite a long time to unpack for you. I mean, I don't think that you necessarily have a handle on it now, as we are in 2026, but it could be that it takes the rest of 2026 for you to be able to understand or see the consequences of things that just felt like they were infinitely frustrating in 2025, kind of playing out in their resolution towards the end of 2026 into 2027. You know, the 3 of Swords is about... ultimately, it's about the revelation of truth. And it's usually a truth we don't want and we don't like, because as you can see with those swords running through the heart there's a kind of emotional illusion that is punctured by the cold hard steel of reality. But in its way, it brings us closer to the truth of any given matter. Now, as you can see, that is on its side there, which indicates that we haven't really fully understood the implications of what has happened, where the choices have been removed or the options have been removed. and we feel like we've been kind of railroaded down a road that we possibly would not have picked for ourselves if we felt like we had a choice about it, right? And there's 7 of Wands. I talk about it in terms of being a protective or guarded energy sometimes. Sometimes it's a defensive energy, right? But it's Mars and Leo, and so it feels like it's digging into where the courage actually is for you, Cancer, and that has been pretty complex, actually. You know, this is not simply a case of, for example, you know, I have a mother wound and that's why this, you know, this is why I choose the things that I do, or this is why I react the way that I do, even though that in and of itself can be an incredibly complex position to try and navigate. It's like there's something else going on here. Let's get some clarifiers. So we have the Hierophant, interesting, because it's also over here as a shadow card. And we've got that 6 of Pentacles there. And the 4 of Cups again, with the 3 of Swords again at the bottom of the deck. Now, I mean, it could be as straightforward, not easy to navigate, but as straightforward sort of principally as realizing that one's difficulties run much, much deeper than we had thought. You know, the Hierophant is about rigidity quite often, but it's a Taurus card, as is the 6 of Pentacles too. So what we've got is strength, we've got structure, but we've also got potential rigidity and a need to try and balance the scales out somewhere. But we keep coming back to this 4 of Cups, which is a Cancer card. I forget what the which planet is associated with it, but we see here this 3 of Swords is in the upright now. It's like the onion that doesn't give up. It's just layer after layer after layer, and I can feel the frustration of never quite getting to the core of the onion with you here. And I don't think it's because you're excessively rigid, or you have been excessively rigid, Cancer. But I do wonder if... Oh, that's interesting. It feels like, to some extent, Cancer, you've been a warrior looking for a battle, but you don't know what it is that you're supposed to be battling. Now, on the one hand, we could look at this and say, well, you know, if this is an internal, highly complex, emotional thing that we've been trying to get to the bottom of, then that would explain why we're still picking away at the layers of it, right? I think Cancer is one of the most complex signs in the zodiac, and I think deeply misunderstood, actually. Not least perhaps by yourself. You know, self not really ever being able to make sense of self. But it's like there's a... You've been looking for your own spiritual authority, Cancer, your own emotional authority. You know, the Cancers are renowned for being fierce in defense of them and theirs, right? You don't fuck with a Cancer when it comes to things that are close to home. So if we're talking about as close to home as what's going on inside of you, or just what's going on in your immediate environment in front of you, it feels like there's something solid that you've been looking for, that maybe even the guidance system, right? The internal GPS. That you're wanting to have a little bit more solidity than has been shown to you over the course of 2025. Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, see, we've got the 8 of Swords down here. And the Queen of Pentacles is all about value, right? And we are going to defend those things that have value. But because it's Capricorn, which is your opposite sign, and Capricorn is very much concerned with where we're going in the future, that feeling of instability that I had right at the beginning, That feeling of you being a warrior and wanting to protect and wanting to defend, but not quite sure how to do it. Again, we've got this kind of cul-de-sac energy where I don't feel like you've been going around in circles, but I feel like you might have met more dead ends in 2025 than you were anticipating. And some of those would have been internal, and some of those would have been with other people and with situations and things that are going on outside of you. And there's a kind of patience that's had to be developed here. But I feel like you're questioning yourself as to whether this is developing patience or simply it feels knotty. And I think the biggest knot of all, Cancer, is the self-doubt. Like, am I pushing in the right direction? Am I defending the right thing? Am I protecting the right thing? Like, that clear bell that you want to orient towards too, that says, this is the truth, this is the way, these are the people, these are the things that I stand for. Like, it feels really foggy. And you don't like it. Understandably, you haven't enjoyed it at all. Huh. It's like where things should have been really clear cut, there is now a fog. Or there was a fog for the whole of 2025. And those brick walls that you kept running up against. The reason that it feels knotty is because it feels like you've been questioning whether it was your decision that brought you to where you are, or whether it was you going with the flow that brought you to where you are. Like, everything that is principled and honourable about you, Cancer, wants to defend, wants to protect, wants to look after, nurture, grow, everything you put your hands on. And it's all just felt just a little bit off. And I think the problem is that you've pushed a lot of this questioning energy inside of yourself. And I think there's been a bit of attacking of self going on. And I think that's been really difficult for you to navigate. But the interesting thing is, this Three of Swords showing up twice, once on its side and once on its in the upright like this. It's saying that this was always a process that you were supposed to be exploring, right? Things are never quite as clear cut as we would like them to be when we're dealing with matters of a consciousness shift. Because the things that made sense to a different kind of consciousness that you've held in the transition, it's very difficult to make sense of it, right? What do I mean by this? Right, you're trying to project your consciousness forward. It's a really difficult thing to do, right? To assume how you will feel about something when your consciousness has shifted, because you're using the kind of consciousness you've got now and just literally transplanting yourself into a different situation and being like, well, this is what it's going to feel like, this is what it's going to look like. And it's like the more your consciousness has shifted, the less things have made sense. But I do think for some reason, and it's very interesting that it should be happening this way for you, Cancer, it is that dominance of trying to make things make intellectual sense that has caused the problem for you. This is why it's knotty. Your mind feels like it's knotted itself up. It's getting a constant stream of information coming through emotionally. And normally that would be quite straightforward for you to navigate. But there have been shifting priorities and a shifting sense of duty, interestingly. And where it seemed perfectly obvious what you would defend before, we don't have that same level of obviousness now. It's like everything's become blurred. Rather than the black or the white space, we are thoroughly occupying the grey. And I think that's quite literally done your fucking head in, Cancer. We've got the Emperor at the bottom of the deck here. And the Emperor is about control, he's about strategy, he's about order. And I get a sense of a collapsing order with you, right? How easy it was to orient your life around, you know, the things that you found important before. You know, more orderly behaviour here. It's like it's disintegrating in front of you. So you could have seen sides of people that you didn't realise existed before, right? And now you've seen them, you can't unsee them. And you're like, well, I can't stridently run to their defence about things. I'm not necessarily sure I want to protect their position. I mean, to some extent, for some of you, Cancer, you may have seen things about yourself that you have not quite known what to do with over the course of 2025. And in the middle of it all, trying to make a kind of cognitive sense, right, using the mind to make sense of it, has seen you kind of knot up tighter and tighter and tighter, trying to create an order and a structure around those things that you think are important, those people that you love, around yourself perhaps. Just bringing a sense of well, it's just confusing. Everything's confusing as fuck right now, right? And it should be very, it should be very straightforward. It really should. But you're not finding it that way. I mean, it could be that simply the binary has been stripped, right? In your is this good or is this bad kind of decision-making process. And now you're starting to, you know, perceive the duality in everything. Maybe even the duality in yourself. And you're like, well, what does it all fucking mean? You know, the reason that the shadow gets created is because we want to sit in that binary of I am a good person. Look at me, I'm a good person. But when you start to notice things, when you notice the rejection of, you know, certain aspects of self, you notice your own projections, that can be a big deal. It can feel like we don't know what is good anymore. And I feel like that's where you are, Cancer, or that's where 2025 left you, at least anyway, with more questions than satisfactory answers delivered. And there's something quite unstable about that, because if the one thing that you can rely on yourself is that you will stand up for what you believe in, you will stand up for what is right. And now you're questioning even the idea of right. It could leave you feeling very ineffective. And the one thing that I'm getting off this Four of Cups, both here and here, is this sense of, what's the point? Because there is a warrior energy here that's trying to emerge, and it wants to emerge. It wants to do that thing. But in order to do that, it's like you need to understand what you believe in. You need to know what you believe in. And the disillusionment is strong from here, and even to an extent here too. Because if we move into your current energy, right, we've got the Knight of Pentacles right there. Now, the Knight of Pentacles, much like the Queen, is about value, right? It's sort of, what do we value? How can we hold this out in front of us? How can we embody our values? That's, for me, very much, the message of the Knight of Pentacles. But you'll notice that we've taken a step back from the Queen over here, who deeply knows, deeply understands what she stands for, what she prioritizes, what she thinks is important. And we're sort of stepping back into this more flexible, slower moving, well, not slower than the Queen, I guess, but slower than all of the other knights, at least, where there is a restructuring going on. And it feels tentative. That's the important thing about this, because for me, the Queens make sense of whatever suit they represent, right? So the Queen of Swords is trying to help you make sense of what you think. The Queen of Pentacles is trying to make sense of what you value and where you want to go and what your motivations are for doing that thing, right? What it is that you want to invest in. This Knight of Pentacles is kind of moving around a little bit more and going, well, things are a little less fixed than I thought they were. And maybe I'm going to try a little bit over here and a little bit over this. I'm trying to find the path to follow that feels right, that ignites that. This is what I believe in. This is a cause that I'm willing to fight for, right? But the Four of Cups there says it's still not quite hit right for you. Queen of Swords is doing the same thing. She's trying to make sense of it all and going, how? How do I do that? How do I do a thing that came so fucking naturally to me before? And now, in the weight of information that 2025 has delivered, it has me questioning everything. How can I show up fully? How can I show up embodied if I don't even know what I believe in anymore? Let's pull some clarifiers out here. Yeah, well, this is interesting. Yeah, I mean, look at this. We've got the Five of Swords, we've got the Star on its side, we've got the King of Pentacles on its side. Well, these both represent fixed signs, Aquarius and Taurus, respectively. But this Five of Swords is really interesting because it's the unstable cognition, right? It's the wonky thought patterns. Have I got this right? I know I said it felt like you've been quite naughty, and to some extent, I stand by that, Cancer. It is naughty. But it's naughty in the sense of you actually sitting down and looking at it and being like, well, it's like if you leave a necklace in a jewellery box and you pile loads of other jewellery on it, right? You come to try and take the necklace out and it's knotted itself up inexplicably with every other piece of jewellery that you've got. You have to sit there and unpick it. It's the unpicking that's happening now. I think you were trying to unpick it as things were sort of fogging up and getting grey and getting cloudy last year, and it was almost impossible. It was a sense of things having to just simply be experienced as they were and observed as how they were before you could get to the point where you could start unpicking what it all means. And to some extent, I feel like that's where you are now, because we're still not entirely clear about what we stand for, what we value, what we think is important, what we want to prioritise, what we want to invest in. Certainly not sure about what the future may hold. Now, it's not, it's not abject nihilism, but it isn't straightforward. The interesting thing about the Star is because there's a huge authenticity aspect to it. It's like it's difficult for you to show up authentically at the moment because you're still not quite sure who you are, right? Until you have all of this set in your head, like what you think is important, all those kind of things, you can't plan for the future. And both of these energies would be planning for the future because you can almost foresee your own pitfalls. But it's more than that. It's that sense that you haven't tapped into the feeling yet. And it is a yet, Cancer. I want to make that really clear. You haven't tapped into the feeling yet that tells you, yes, this is the right direction. It's like there's so many streams of information that have been coming through to you. With this card here, it's been overwhelming. Unpicking it all has been a mammoth task. What do we have here? Queen of Wands. I mean, yeah, Four of Swords. This is very much the Queen's... if I fucking Five of Swords at the bottom of the deck again. It's very much the arena of the Queens. I mean, this is the strong suit of the Queens, is making sense of. The Kings are the masculine expression of the suit, of the energy, so they're the doing aspect of it, right? They're the strong, fixed nature of a thing. We've picked a thing, now we're doing the thing. Very action-oriented. With the Queens, it's so internal, so subjective, so much making sense of. This Queen of Wands here is like, well, we can almost see it, actually. We've got a snake protecting this clutch of eggs here. There's a warrior waiting to come out, but the warrior needs to be clear about what they stand for first, so that they can, move to protect that. This Four of Swords, though, is very interesting, because I think part of what needs to happen here, Cancer, is the naming of the process that you are going through right now. Like, there is really strong transitional energy here, and it's difficult to make sense of stuff while it's in the midst of change, right? But if we can recognize that we are in a transitional process, and it is about trying to work out what we stand for, why we do the things that we do, what things do we want to experience and why, what do we want to stand for and why. It makes sense that we've got so many of these queens showing up here, with the exception of the Queen of Cups, which is your card. I think at the point where the Queen of Cups shows up, we've probably nailed it, because we're tapped into the feeling. But at the moment, you're trying to fight with all of this other information that's coming into you. I go, what does it all mean? Where is it? Where am I going to go? In future, I mean, what is my direction of travel? The King of Pentacles would like to know what the direction of travel is. The Star is often indicating the direction of travel. And both of these are on their side and saying, we're sitting this one out. It's about what's going on right now for you. And until you can find a way to be peaceful with what is starting to show up, and which is to say, make your peace with. And I don't think you can make your peace with until you have nailed the priorities, nailed the things that you stand for, things that you will protect, things that you will, that fully engage you. There's still quite a bit of confusion here, but you're unpicking it, you're working it out, and the cards that we've got here for Capricorn season really strongly allude to that. We've got the Page of Wands, the Emperor, and the Ace of Pentacles, and I love this for you, Capricorn, Cancer, because everything that you've been struggling with here is starting to become orderly, right? We've got the Emperor, the Hierophant, two cards that are shown up for you already, and to some extent have been elusive in your energy, right? They haven't shown up in their best expression, because it's been very difficult for you to create order out of something that has been functionally chaotic inside you, and also probably outside of you too, right? But here they're showing up and they feel very strong because they are accompanied with initiatory energy, which is to say the Page of Wands. We're getting ready to go on this new journey of some description, right? But also the Ace of Pentacles, it is a point of focus. It is a seed that we are planting. Why? Because we understand the value of what comes therefrom. When we said we took a step back from the Queen of Pentacles and touched base with the Knight of Pentacles, is it this thing? Is it this thing? Is it this thing? Like, the Ace of Pentacles to me suggests that you've made as much sense of things as you need to, whether it's in, cognitively or behaviorally, or, from the perspective of value. And there's something very, very strong that is showing up in its stead versus where you have been up until this point. About these. What do we have here? Super. We have the Sun card. We also have the Six of Wands. Interesting. And we've got the Page of Swords. What's really interesting about this is, to some extent, the order seems to have been created by your acceptance that you you actually don't have any definition, a working definition of success to run with at the moment, right? The Sun for me is a card of consciousness, right? And it's showing up here strong, but it's showing up in a way that is authentic and sovereign. That seemed to be something that you were struggling with over here, right? It's kind of like, you know what, fuck it. This is what I'm doing, right? And I have no idea if this is going to be successful or not, right? We see that with the Page of Swords on its side. He's an information gatherer. He's highly discerning. He needs to be able to cherry pick the information, right? He sat the fuck down. It's like, I can't see. I'm speaking for you here. It's like, I can't see what success will look like, but I am allowing an order to emerge that says, I don't need to know. All I need to do is put my head down and work. Right? Eight of Pentacles is very much about, mastery and skill and work and all those kind of things, right? To plant the seeds of what I hope will be the beginnings of a new kind of order that emerged thereafter, right? Again, Emperor is very masculine, very orderly. The Hierophant is very masculine, very orderly. Both of these rely on structures and hierarchies to make things work, right? But they are an antidote to chaos. Now, you were trying to draw on the energies of these two, and somewhat ineffectively before, right? Because things had not collapsed enough yet. And the things that you have let go that were represented by the rigidity of the Hierophant and the Emperor before are getting a new kind of burst of life. And it's like, well, no, actually the order can happen differently. The structure can happen differently. All I need to know is that I am here and I am me. And who knows where it's going to go. But I'm just going to show up as I feel is right, which is what you're doing. And it feels to me very much like there's the Knight of Swords. That's Gemini energy. Ooh, what do we have here? Eight of Cups on its side, Five of Pentacles on its side. I feel like both of these are, yeah, there's the Knight of Pentacles there. It's like, it's accepting that the order creation is actually a work in progress. Like, you don't have to have it all figured out right now, Cancer. I think that's the thing that's giving you the stability right now. You wanted to work out where you were going in future. Here it's like, well, do you know what, I have absolutely no idea. I have no idea if I'm going to be successful. The only thing that I actually have at my disposal is to just show up, and show up in the cleanest, truest sense that I can. That in and of itself is the thing that has brought the order to the situation, which is really weird. Things are always sideways of where you expect them to be, right? And the fact that we've got this Knight of Swords here feels like there's something really inspiring about the presence of this Knight of Swords here. Because usually we would expect these to, be in their upright and be consecutive, right? And they're certainly consecutive. But it feels like the thing that you're communicating out to the universe, if not to the other people around you, is this sense of self that you've discovered that is actually not reliant on needing to have all of the answers, Cancer. And with this Eight of Cups and the Five of Pentacles here, it feels like you've arrived at a place where a choice must be made. And I feel like you are making it. So the choice that must be made is either this Eight of Cups, we leave behind emotions that are of the past, right? And they would be things that require a certain amount of order, a certain amount of direction. You're a cardinal sign, so you kind of like to point in the direction, that's where I'm going. And recognizing where that Five of Pentacles, right? There has been more of a focus on the lack of things, right? Maybe the lack of certainty, the lack of direction, the lack of whatever it is, right? And the instability that brings. Starting to choose to focus instead on what you do have, and what you can be grateful for, right? It's almost like there's a spontaneous fucking order that is emerging in your life during this time, if you can lean into that. The Eight of Cups in reverse is about a return. When we talk about the Five of Pentacles reversed, right, we're often talking about a kind of stability, right? But this would be a hankering for a return to when things were seemingly more simple, when things were seemingly a little bit more stable and straightforward. But what I'm loving about this is that recognizing that it's a choice is the thing that's handing the order back to you. If you can accept that things are going to be disruptive and chaotic and prepare accordingly, Page of Wands, then suddenly you have a framework to work within. And this Knight of Swords seems to be a rather effortless communication of that to others. There's something reassuring, really reassuring about that, Cancer. You don't have to have all the answers, you just need to show up. Ace of Cups beneath there. Prepare for the road to be rocky. Prepare for there to be lots of twists and turns and ups and downs and whatever. It's like if you expect it to be a rather undulating path, right? You're not going to be surprised by it. It's the spontaneous creation of order within yourself because you simply stop expecting things to be orderly. Does that make sense? That feels like very much like what's going on here. This is really interesting. Right, I'm going to go over to the extended. If you'd like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. Like I said, links for everything are in the description box below. But we're going to focus on this because this feels like a very sudden emergence out of the fog. And it doesn't look like what you thought it did. And all of the ways in which you've been trying to bring the structure in suddenly irrelevant, and in their stead comes this new kind of authority, Cancer, which is very interesting indeed. All right, know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.